So the New York Knicks came out of the draft with the best French prospect. I don't know. The next TJ McConnell, so-called next Josh Hart. Let's get to it. Hit that rock. Salute, your boy Gmo Legion and Knicks. Before we get started, make sure to hit the like, subscribe to the channel, make sure to hit the dark notification bell so you get each and every notification for each and every video I put out there. I appreciate you. Also, visit UnderddogFantasy.com, use the code Legion LK to get matched up to $500 on your first deposit. So after trading for my done life, McCullar Bridgesteins, and OG Anunoby being re-signed for 5 years, $212.5 million. The New York Knicks had several objectives in mind. One, which was to draft some young talent that they could stash away, and also draft some talent in the second round that wouldn't burden the cap, given that the Knicks do not want to be hard cap at that first apron. So the full list of names that the Knicks draft in this draft starts with Pacome Dadiet, played with Ratio Firm ULM in the Euro Cup this past season. Tyler Kolek from Marquette, Kevin McCullar Jr. from Kansas, as well as Ariel Hukporti from Melbourne of the NBL. But let's get to the first pick. Pacome Dadiet, 6'8", 187-pound wing with a 6'9" wingspan from butchers as well to Aubonne, France. Apologies, bro. So when you look at Pacome Dadiet, it actually goes against some of the philosophy the Knicks have been exercising the past few years in the draft, which is a guy with some years under the belt, a guy who can come in with at least 2 to 3 discernible skills that can grow through year 2 to year 3. By year 3, they'd be a dependable player. You look at guys like IQ coming from Kentucky, who's able to shoot as well as play some good defense, operate on the ball, run the pick and roll as kind of an off-guard attack from the wing as an off-guard. Also came with a really good floater. You talk about guys like Obi Toppin, who I think was a little bit overrated coming into the league, but a guy that in college at Dayton playing that 5-out offense at least gave you I don't say flashes, but the numbers, 2.8 or 2.6 attempts a game. I think shot around 38% from 3. The guy could run the floor as well too. Supposed to be this explosive forward, help you play kind of like the swing 4 position. Look at other guys like Quentin Grimes coming from Houston. Had about 4 years. Played 2 at Houston, 1 at Kansas. Transitioned into a 3-and-D player. Could play some shutdown defense. Could play anywhere from your 1 to your 3, maybe even your 4s defensively. Could also space the floor out as well. And you talk about a guy like Miles McBride coming from West Virginia. A guy could shoot the outside shot and defend at a really high clip. He had some battles back in the day with guys like Kate Cunningham in college. And so again, when you look at Pacome Dadiet, kind of goes against some of the philosophy the Knicks have been preaching over the past few years. But again, because of the cap situation, you're looking at a guy that you want to take and stash for a few years so he's burning the cap. Talk about a guy like Pacome Dadiet, a lot of his value comes from evaluation comes from projection. He only averaged 6.4 points a game, 45.2% shooting from the field, 31% from 3 on 2.5 attempts a game, 72% from the stripe, 0.6 steals a game, 0.2 blocks a game as well too, 1.6 rebounds, 0.3 assists. But he only played in around 18 games this season, averaging 15 minutes a game. I do think some positive, I think, will translate to the NBA. I think his shot creation is definitely a major plus. I think his playmaking ability, there's a potential for it to grow, as well as what I think is probably the most underrated aspect of his game, which is his defensive ability. Something I think that kind of attracted the Knicks to this kid long term. Now, on the shot creation, Pacome, something I love that many other young players don't do coming into the league. He's not very wasteful in the dribble. You can't say with a lot of players. A lot of players in the league coming in, young players, that they don't know where to get to on the floor, or they don't know how to get to their spots on the floor. A lot of wasteful dribbling. I've seen guys literally cross a guy over, have the advantage to his left or to his right, and then bring it back and allow the defender to reclaim his spot or reclaim the leverage on the possession. And Pacome, to me, even though he's not the quickest or the most dynamic off the dribble, he's not very wasteful. He knows where he wants to get to. He'll use the dribbles to get there. If he has to absorb some contact, he'll do that. And he's really fluid off the dribble. He has a nice little crossover step back. It's not the greatest of crossovers, but a little crossover step back, kind of like a drag back crossover to get that shot off. Something that you see a lot of, adept players, guys like the Hardens and the KDs, the Maxis. You see a lot of these guys be able to use that move, and it's nice to see him coming into the league, not just having that ability, but also having an IQ to say, hey, I'm trying to get to the said spot to get my shot off. What do I need to do to get there in the least amount of dribble? According to Synergy Sports, as well as NoCeilingNBA.com, Dadiet was in the 87th percentile in off the dribble jumpers. So again, the ability is there, and it's nice to see him be able to utilize that at such a young age. Now, there are times where you take some ill-advised jumpers, take some contested jumpers, and you'll take that out you kind of shave it off once he gets to the NBA. But I've seen him hit some jumpers against defenders where it's like, yeah, that's a close contest, and they couldn't defend it. He was still able to get that shot off just in that sliver of space, something that you really can't teach players. So it's nice to see that ability. I'd rather have the overflow of that ability and then kind of shave it off, work on the decision making, then have to try to build it up with players, which is just, we've seen over the years, it's just not as easy to do. So when you look at his catch and shoots, again, he didn't shoot the greatest of threes this past season. Shot 31% from threes on just two and some change attempts, but he did shoot around 35.3% on all catch and shoots this season. He did rank in the 57th percentile, which again, I'm not saying it's the strongest, but it did put him around the same area as guys as IQ coming out of college. Now, granted, there's some bias to it. IQ in college shot way more attempts than Pacome, who was coming off the bench. But when you look at Pacome's form, it's not broken. There's not a lot that I won't even tinker with. I just think it's a feel thing. He's 18 years old. I just think it's just going to come with some growth, some greater, as Coach Color Blocks likes to say, proprioception. He doesn't talk like that, but I'm just saying it. And you could put him in a corner, you could put him in a wing. Doesn't look phased at all. Doesn't look like he's rushing the shots. Very fluid motion. He did shoot 72%. You would like that to be around like 80% to really feel comfortable. That's going to translate to the NBA. But again, he's only 18 years old. The shot is not broken whatsoever. I trust as he continues to develop, he could be a viable wing option play on the weak side and just wait for the gravity player or the wraparound passes to get to him, and he should be a dependable play. But it's all development right now. But I do see some positive signs with his game. I just think it's feel and touches versus you have to tinker with his shot. Another positive, or at least something I can see projecting to being an underrated part of his game. And again, it's not something that's extremely strong or it stands out per se as, that's it. It's his playmaking. He's a guy that I can see him run the pick and roll in a Tom Thibodeau offense. And again, it's not to say that he didn't average a bunch of assists. He was coming off the bench for Pacome. Juan Nunez was their main point guard or main playmaker facilitator. But when you look at Pacome, he can run the pick and roll. I've seen several times in the film where he gets the ball to the big, makes a nice slick pass through the traffic or through the defenders to the rolling big. I've seen many times him find a wing shooters, and at the very least, I've seen many times in the film, he was a connector. Something that it's a bare necessity in Tom Thibodeau's offense, but it makes everything click. I mean, look at guys that Tom Thibodeau had a hard time trying to get that to. Guys like R.J. Barrett. Remember passing when you see passing the ball out of the force, whatever it is. That when you dribble, drive, penetrate, the defense collapses, kick it out to the guy on the outside. He had issues telling that or getting that through to guys like Cam Reddish. So these are the simple things that we take for granted that we look at and say, oh my gosh, these guys should know. And these guys, as talented as they are, as talented guys like Cam Reddish were coming into the league, they just don't know. So with Pacome, not to say he's going to sit up there and he's going to be your James Harden, your Luka Doncic in terms of facilitating playmaking, but he's a guy that at the very least I can see being a connector, and at the very best, because I think he makes a concerted effort to try to find his teammates, to try to find the right guy. Could be a guy that gives you 2-3 assists, could run your offense, come off the bench a little bit. So there's several things that Pacome could definitely work on the defense, but I do think overall it's a positive. Now there are times where he does get beat off the dribble. There are times where he's watching a ball and his assignment's going for the backdoor cut and get caught. But I do think one thing that attracted the Knicks to Pacome is defensive awareness and his tenacity. Many times, despite his lack of wingspan and despite the lack of overall still numbers, but many times Pacome was playing the passing really well. Something that you need in Tom Thibodeau's helper defense. Things that guys like even Jalen Brunson, even though he's not the greatest defenders, you see him playing that back line to get those steals when someone's trying to make the cross court pass. Brunson has had many situations where he's making some solid steals playing those passing lanes. And I've seen Pacome doing similar. Typically when it's coming through inside the paint. But Pacome is really active. I don't know, maybe it's just a hair thing, but Pacome is a guy that I've seen kind of run with his hair on fire. Laterally, I don't see much broken on him. I actually saw some interesting things with him with his lateral movement. I've seen it where he's able to actually track with the ball handler. There's a play where he was actually, it's like the ball handler was attacking from the corner. He actually, I think he felt that if he kind of shifted his hips at that moment, he would have fouled the ball handler. So what he did was kind of wait and then met him at the rim. I believe he got the block as well too. It's a really impressive play by Pacome. Is like he's processing to not get in trouble, not foul, to meet the defender at a better vantage point versus trying to slide at that moment because he kind of got beat and then fouling him. Especially if the ball handler is crafty and knows how to work off of physicality where it shouldn't be, right? In terms of your hands in a cookie jar, you shift your hips, you're in a position, you're stopping me from getting to my spot, or make it seem like that, right? By then drawing a contact and I got fouled, whatever. Another thing too, man, he rotates really well defensively in terms of closeouts. I've seen Pacome move his feet really well. He just doesn't, really strong motor, does not kind of give up on defense. Something that you need in Tom Thibodeau's defense, with the dribble drive penetrations that Tom Thibodeau defends. Somebody gets beat, then there's a disadvantage and the defense has to rotate. If the ball handler kicks it out to the outside, especially if the tagger was helping, now people got to rotate, and that's something that you need in Tom Thibodeau's defense. You see a guy like Pacome doing that at 18. At 18. Doing that, bro, you can't but admire that from such a young kid. And lastly, man, the kid has a dog to him. What he said at the conference, he said, "Look, I'm not here to be stashed away. I want this." Now I'm gonna get to that, but when you look at some games he's played this season, when he played against Zachary Rissacher, I just messed up that name. Against and J.L. Borg, he had 15 points, 3 rebounds, shot 3 for 3 from the stripe. I don't think he had made any threes. I think he was 0 for 1 from 3. I believe several times that game he was beating Rissacher to the off of cuts to the basket. Now, was he taking and beating Sasha off the dribble like that? I wouldn't say so, but he's a guy that he took the spots that he had and he looked good. The moment did not shine too bright for Pacome. And to get back to what he talked about, saying, "Hey, look, I do not want to stay in the G League," or implied that, saying, I did not get drafted to be stashed. You want that from your player. How many guys have you drafted in the past, Frank Ntilikina, Kevin Knox, and you felt like they did not give you that fire like they wanted it? Like you not playing me, you not starting me. I feel like I'm on JV when I should be on varsity because I'm better than all these dudes. So I love what I saw from Pacome. He has some other things to work on besides the thing I mentioned. He's 6'8" and only 180 pounds. That's ridiculous. Got to put some more muscle on that frame. It would definitely help him become a better finisher. So sometimes this past season or in the film, him kind of be pushed off a square when he's attacking a basket. Would love for him to be a little bit more creative as well too, driving and attacking the basket. Consistency will definitely be key with his jumper. Like I mentioned before, refinement on defense will also be key as well too. But the hunger and the vision by this kid, I think he's actually probably an underrated pick, something that many people in the basketball circuits have been saying when I look at my research. Now, again, I wanted Kaishawn George. Kaishawn George is a sniper, a guy who could come in and you plug and play him, maybe even by year 2. This guy's contributing. You see guys like Belmont on the Pacers. You see guys who have already contributing in their rookie season. So who's to say that, God forbid, knock on wood, someone got hurt, Kaishawn couldn't step in. But Kaishawn's also 20 years old. Pacome is 18, so it definitely helps out in terms of having a guy you could truly stash. But I do think overall this is a solid pick by the Knicks. Some people gave it a C+. I give this one a solid B grade for the draft pick. Now next up is Tyler Kolek, the unheralded, overlooked 6'1", too small, he's not explosive enough. The guy that told y'all F y'all when y'all said Marquette would go 9th overall in the tournament. And then he became a 2-time All-American and led the league in assists this past season. Tyler Kolek averaged 15 points a game off of 48.6% shooting from the field. Shot 38.8% from three as well too, and hit 88% of his shots from the stripe. Led the nation, like I said, 7.6 assists, and also had 4.7 rebounds for a guy who is arguably 6'1". They say he's 6'3", but he's really around 6'1", 6'2", which makes it even more impressive. Now, this is the type of guy that you look at and say, yeah, that's a Walt Perrin pick. I think Walt Perrin likes these. He loves these second-round picks where he just could just sit back and just do his checklist to pick the player that follows his heart. But look at Tyler Kolek, a guy who spent 4 years in college, spent one at George Mason, 3 at Marquette. Is a guy that again, leadership. He's a leader of men, an absolute dog. Something that Walt Perrin likes. A guy like Walt Perrin loves, a guy who can shoot the basketball. He can at least give you 2 to 3 discernible skills that we'll go through as I break down his game. Now, again, he lacks ideal size and the speed as a top prospect. Obviously, that's why it's held him back from being a first rounder. But I think these limitations have actually driven him these past few years. Like, it's actually made him stronger. Now, he's a hard-nosed guard. He's a guy who's never shot below 35% from three or below 38% on catch and shoots for his 4 years in college, including his first year at George Mason. And his shooting splits only got better, improved to 44.9% and 38% this past season, although he shot around 39% overall the year before. 23%, at 23 years of age, you don't expect many changes or refinement to his game. I think with his jumper, when you watch it, sometimes he kind of has like an airy push. So it's like, I don't know if it's aiming it, but it's like sometimes it's a little bit too airy, right? And he could have some issues in the NBA and the league adjusting to that, adjusting to the guy, more aggressive guys closing out and having to adjust to the timing and the release of his jumper. But honestly, I think after 4 years in college, if you're shooting that well from the outside, I don't think it's going to be too big of an issue once you get to the NBA, once you get acclimated to the speed of the closeouts. And to me, man, like, people like to say TJ McConnell comparison. I would say he is missing somewhat of a mid-range game. When you look at TJ McConnell came in, or at least has developed that mid-range shot to where he can exploit defenders, especially off the pick and roll. When you look at Tyler, he has a decent dribble jumper. It's not the greatest shot, 27.1% off of dribble jumpers this season. That does include three-point shots. But when you watch him, you don't really see him take those shots in a mid-range like that. A lot of long floaters at times, a lot of contested floaters at times as well too, which I'll get to. So you hope he gets that mid-range jumper like TJ McConnell, and I'll get to this real quick to talk about why he needs that. Now, similar to TJ McConnell, Kolek does like to operate with a screen to help create some space, allows him to also attack on missteps by the defenders trying to over aggressively get over screens. This season he shot 48% off of all pick and roll possessions, which is pretty damn strong. Naturally plays better and more effectively off these screens, given the spaces for them. Versus 1v1, he does struggle at times when he's just going one versus one against his defender, especially driving from the top of the key. He tries to do like this spin move that's not really effective when the defender's right. Just get up on him. In isolations this season, according to Synergy, shot 37.5%, which is not too strong. But as an off guard, I've seen many times catch the ball from the wing, the opposite side, an attack off the defenders, overly aggressive closeouts. He has good good timing. He can hit those angles. See him with the reverse right. He's a lefty, but he can finish with the reverse right, attacking the basket from the wing as the weak side scorer. So again, he's really adept at having that feel for the game once he's afforded that space, whether it's playing as the off guard or playing off the pick and roll. And then just look, his best attribute probably, and why people keep calling him TJ McConnell, and also given the fact that he's white, his court vision, 7.7 assists, and only 2.9 turnovers this past season. He's a natural in finding his teammates, especially off the pick and roll, off the screens. But when you see a point guard who could attack off the right and the left off the screen and find his teammates, find the roller in tight spots, many times also Iguodala. I mean, that guy owes a lot of his success this season to Tyler Kolek, who's finding him off the pick and rolls, fighting for the alley-oops as he's making those runs, just has the perfect timing for these passes off the screens. Could do the wraparound pass to the big man underneath once he's driving on either side, left or right. You can find guys, he can find the wings, he can find the cutters to the basket. When the defense is kind of low or thinking, all the action on the strong side, that's where it's going to be. Tyler can find a guy cutting from the weak side to the basket. And another thing, too, he can score at angles. Now, he definitely is a guy that operates mostly or does the best on his left. And there are times when, again, he takes these contested shots where, it's just these bad angles where he just kind of forces things at times. Where I think he's trying to make something happen. Because he's kind of like a spark plug kind of player in many regards, even though it's not just with his scoring, it's also with his passing well too. But when he gets those angles, when he gets the space of the missteps, attacks the defender's missteps, when he has a slower defender on him, if a big switches onto him, he could finish. He has a nice lefty. I mean, go to that Colorado game. He held one dude with his right and then finished with the left. If you look at the angle, it was like, what the? He's underrated, man. I'll give him that. He's not the quickest or fastest, but he's definitely underrated now. His weaknesses, definitely rears his head out on the defensive end. Just too small at times. He tries, but I think some of his lateral quickness is kind of weak, relative to what you want in the NBA. He is 6'1", can get bullied at times, but you see a guy like Jalen Brunson, who's not a great defender by any stretch of imagination, but there are times when Jalen Brunson can give you some solid defensive minutes. But what fuels him overall, having that chip on his shoulder, definitely hurts him at times, because I've seen times where he tries to overshoot, try to do too much. Like I said, attacking, taking these contested jumpers to games. Like I said, it's hot. It could be hot or cold. Games like Texas, where he absolutely killed 28 points on 11 for 16 shooting, 4 for 9 from 3. It felt like if you watch that game, watch the film, it felt like he could not miss. But you have games like Butler, where he shot 0 for 7 from 3. Where he's just taking bad shots. And I think at times he thinks, he's a spark plug. He has that chip on his shoulder. So I think that when he gets to the NBA, look, I don't want to kill his ferocity, but you just want to kind of make sure that it doesn't taint or poison his decision making. You want to be smart in the court. And the thing with him and TJ McConnell came in, the scouting, you look at TJ McConnell's college scouting, and you look at his NBA, it hasn't changed. Nothing's changed. TJ McConnell is a guy that he passes to a fault. So you always think that he's going to pass. And TJ McConnell, how many points he's had over his career was a wide open layup because the defense is playing back, because they think he's going to make the pass to someone underneath or to roll it to the basket. And also he has that mid-range shot. Remember what I talked about? Tyler Kolek doesn't really have that strong of a mid-range shot, especially off the screens in those spots. He likes to attack the basket, make the pass, maybe throw a little floater, but that mid-range shot is the difference between him and TJ McConnell right now. Get that free throw draw rate up as well too. It's in a 20-some% range. Understand? He can trap defenders on the hip, off the screens, but play a little bit with the, what I'm saying? Just play a little bit more of the screen game. I got him in the back, do like Jalen Brunson. You have him there, so you'll be able to learn from him. But Tyler Kolek, another solid pick in the second round for the Knicks. And for the Knicks draft grade, I actually give this one a solid A-. So next up is Kevin McCullar, coming out of Kansas, the house I built, self-built. This past season, the fifth-year senior who transferred from Texas Tech, averaged 18.3 points on 45.4% shooting from the field, 33.3% from three, to go along with 4.1 assists, 6 rebounds, 1.5 steals, 0.4 blocks. He's also a Big 12 All defense selection back in 2022, 2023. Now his draft stock took a hit after the knee bruise he suffered that made him miss the NCAA tournament. There's news that he was going around the NBA Combine in crutches when he was taking his interviews. He claimed that he had his knee scoped out, but many teams were put off on that, as well as his advanced age, at 23 years old. So it'll be really important to see how he performs post-injury. As for the game himself, he's a very glue guy, a guy whose strengths largely lie in his connective play. For others, his high IQ, his hustle, his defense, which can be stifled. So let's start with the positives, which one of them is his defense. The guy's a stout defender, moves really well laterally, 6'6" with a 6'9" wingspan, and makes sure to use all his measurables to kind of disrupt you to the basket. Does a good job of keeping his space strong, so you can't really bully him to the basket. Loves to make you take bad shots. This is why he gave up only 30% from the field in all isolation plays and ranked in the 84th percentile regarding all defensive possessions this past season. Simply put, when McCullar's on you, he's going to press you to take a bad shot. He has a wingspan to block you at the rim as he tracks you moving laterally to the rim. He's also really active and tenacious rebounder, averaging 6 rebounds a game. A guy who likes to crash the boards, and for his career he averaged around 5.4 rebounds a game, which is right around the same average that Josh Hart had in college at 5.6. Now, another positive of Kevin McCullar Jr.'s game is his playmaking, something you see at Kansas in the Bills' self high-low offense, which is essentially a lot of 4-out, 1-in basketball. They work it inside out, get into the guy at the pinch post, or you get into the shooters or the ball handlers coming off the weak side, off of screen set. And so you're basically trying to assess what the defense is giving you at any given moment. And that 4.1 assist a game, I tried, it's ridiculous. I had to try to go back all the way to 1986. Ron Kellogg to try to find a 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" wing who had as many assists as Kevin McCullar did in his last year. Kansas 4.1 was the average per game, and I could not find any. So I just gave up and said, all right, whatever, it is what it is. But essentially, what you saw from Kevin McCullar was very solid, unflashy at times, connector play, where he's making a hockey pass, he's swinging the ball around, getting the ball to the pinch on the inside, getting to the roll on the inside if there's a screen, getting to the wing, getting to the ball handler, just move the ball around. And maybe because of his own limitations, he's saying, hey, I'm not going to try to force it and try to create something on my own that I know is just not going to be as successful, so let me get the ball to the proper guy. Sometimes you saw almost like he's playing hot potato and just getting the ball out quickly, which you love to see. He was doing in transition, doing a half-court game, getting into the bigs underneath, getting to the rollers, getting to the wing guys. And so when you see his game is very unselfish, just like Josh Hart. He gets it, just get the ball to the higher probability scorer. And look, many wings have come and tried to succeed in the NBA. Now, I want to take out Ochai Agbaji and Christian Braun. They just started, so I want to kill him. But guys like Josh Jackson back in the day, Ben McLemore, guys have come and they've mostly been beneficiaries of the system, versus I feel like Kevin McCullar was actually one of the engines of the system, one of the facilitators, one of the guys to actually move the ball around, was deciding where the ball should go. And so that's definitely a different kind of task and responsibility that we've seen with other wings, or put upon other wings, versus what you saw with Kevin McCullar Jr. So again, he has absolutely no problem being the main facilitator, being a connector, the guy that makes a hockey assist. But that high IQ definitely translates into something in Tom Thibodeau's offense, where he's asked guys for years, guys like RJ Barrett, guys like Cam Reddish, just move the ball around. How many times you see these guys drive straight into the paint, not be able to move the ball around, not be able to read the defense, understand the collapse is coming. I got two guys, once the taggers come in, I got two guys, or maybe I got one guy on the wing, I got a roller underneath. Some of that measure. We've been complaining about this for years, and yes, last year with guys like Dante Vincenzo, guys like Josh Hart, and many times playing second facilitator or secondary facilitator next to Jalen Brunson, it's like, oh, we've been kind of spoiled with it. But for many years, we didn't have these connectors, and now we got them, or now you're seeing it with Kevin McCullar Jr. So I definitely think in Tom Thibodeau's offense, given what he's been able or been tasked to do in Bill Self's offense, that playmaking, that passing, that facilitating definitely translates very well as a wing in Tom Thibodeau's offense. Let's get to Kevin McCullar Jr.'s weaknesses, and one that stands out is his shooting. Now, he has a kind of trebuchet shot, and it's not the Larry Bird trebuchet. It's just a weird trebuchet. It's almost reminds a little bit of Charlie Brown Jr., but Charlie Brown Jr. shoots from the side. He kind of shoots it. I don't know how to put it. It's just not the prettiest of shots. I wouldn't say it's broken per se, but a lot of scouts have had their issues with it. He shot 30.9% for his career from outside. Shot 33.3% from the outside this past season. Now, according to Synergy, he actually shot 38.1% on all catch and shoots, and 44.2% on unguarded catch and shoots, which is fairly solid. So, but is this past season aberration or is it not? I'm not sure. In the previous seasons in college, he never shot better than 32% on catch and shoots. He is a career 75% shoot at the foul line, and he does have a free throw rate of 42.6%. So he can make some aggressive defenders kind of pay at the line, but he kind of has to prove that this is not a fluke for his overall three-point shooting. Again, is it tweaking the trebuchet shot that he has to do? Is it getting better proprioception, as my guy Coach Colorblocks likes to say? And when you look at his shooting off the dribble, it's not much to offer. He only shot 27.9%. So he probably has to live with that jumper, like I said, improve the proprioception, his muscle memory with it, and just be okay with it. But a wing with no jumper is, I don't know, you're a little bit limited. Now, another weakness of Kevin McCullar Jr. is his finishing. He's not the most efficient at the rim. He's not the most explosive off the dribble, the most creative. And so when he's attacking the rim, it's typically very linear, very straight to the basket type of finishing. And look, this past season for Kansas, he shot around 57.7% at the rim. Now, when you look at his previous seasons, 2022-23 is interesting because he shot around 68% at the rim, had a few more dunks than he did in that year versus this year. But when you watch him, I'm not necessarily sure if the knee was not an issue this whole season, per se, which gives me some concern. It's not as if he can't get to the rim either, but the touch was just off. So is it that maybe the knee was bothering him or something? Was maybe 2022-23 in the right direction in terms of his improvement in finishing? Because the years before that, he kind of was just not good overall finishing. But when you watch him, many times it's like he runs a little bit too, or he can't gather himself in the rim. I don't know if you've ever played basketball, guys who play track, and a lot of those guys, they just run just straight at the basket, just like this linear attack. They can't gather themselves. And so when you watch him, not say he's having a sprint race to the basket, but many times he just can't gather himself to finish properly at the basket. You look at a guy like Josh Hart, who's typically shot around 60% or better from the rim. Josh Hart can gather himself properly at the rim. He always makes sure his hands is right there at the backboard. Villanova styles, man, always a lot of 2 feet jumping at the rim when they can do it. So a lot of dunks, a lot of high probability finishes at the rim. When you watch Kevin McCullar Jr., when he's attacking a rim, it's like the lack of touch. He's not the most creative. I've seen some where he's literally cutting underneath the basket, which he does really well, moves off the ball really well. He's missing some gimmies. And so I think it's just a matter of touch, a matter of being able to pace yourself, be able to control yourself at the rim, and I don't see enough of that. So it does give me some concern as to how that translates into the NBA, where the defenses are probably going to be a lot better than college on a nightly basis, a lot more quicker defenders, even though, defense comes at a premium in NBA. But, these odd angles that he takes, I'm not saying it's similar to RJ Barrett per se, but, I do have some concerns in terms of his overall finishing at the rim. Now, but Kevin McCullar Jr., look, either way, the guy's going to have to refine some things. He's not, as many scouts say, he's not the most skilled. He's not the most toolsy of players. He doesn't really do one thing exceptionally well on offense. And so his calling card is going to be that playmaking, that defense, that strong rebound, like I said, and trying to get that three-point shooting to a decent level in the NBA. Try to get it up to that average 35%. And we're cooking with some gas here, but again, a lack of ability on the ball, whether it's in isolations, he's not good in the pick and roll, he's not good in operating the ball off the screens. Those issues are they're gonna rear its ugly head. So he's gonna have to find other ways to be impactful. He's already 23 years old, and so I want to sit up here and say the clock is ticking. But if you have to invest in some shooting coaches or somebody to help refine that shot, let it be, man, because again, he's that jumper is probably the difference, and the finish at the rim is the difference between him being in rotations, being a rotational wing, or being a camp body, moving from team to team. Last but not least, Ariel Hukporti. It's a very interesting name. German Togolese, 23-year-old center coming out of the NBL, played 2 seasons there, but he did miss a season in 2022-23 with a ruptured Achilles, ruptured it in a preseason game. The 7', 248 center did average 8.4 points a game off of 59.6% shooting from the floor. No threes taken this past season. 61.8% from the stripe, 7 rebounds, 0.7 assists, 6.6 steals, 1.5 blocks. Playing for Melbourne in the NBL. There's a guy, we watched this film, it's not the most spectacular. It's a guy who's more of a classic big, lives primarily in the paint and at the rim, doesn't really have many skills in terms of hook shots or even just a nice little little jumper in the paint. This guy is a classic rotational big. He's going to set the screens. He does fairly well in the pick and rolls from the films I watched. Now I'll say this with the pick and rolls. He's a guy that likes physicality. Many times he gets caught with these fouls in the pick and roll or in the screen game where he's literally bumping into the player and making sure he's pushes the. Why did I move off the screen like that? Making sure he pushes the defender off his frame versus setting his feet and just playing the wall roll. So he's definitely going to have to clean that up. Also, a lot of fouls. Not a lot, but he get foul prone underneath in the paint despite having a strong base. He's a guy that he has to learn the game within the game, understanding how to absorb contact and how to make sure that he's not bumping into the slash or the ball handler as that ball handler is getting or making motion towards the basket. Things he can refine once he gets into the league. We've seen with guys like Mitch Robinson, even though Mitch Robinson doesn't improve his damn screening, but Ariel Hukporti, very classic, old school type of a big, can defend really well in the paint. He's a guy that can disrupt your shots. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays out in the summer league if they try to develop some of his other skills, who he works with in terms of his trainers. Because again, in this league, it'd be nice for you to be a better free throw shooter, 61.8%. And you're a guy that lives primarily in the paint, so that means your free throw draw rate once you're in the game is going to be typically going to be high, but you're not making these defenders really pay for it. So he's definitely going to have to improve his shooting, at least at the line. I'm not saying to try get a 24-foot jumper, but work on better soft skills in the paint. I think maybe the ruptured Achilles may have taken a little bit of that explosiveness that he had in years prior. So again, working on that jump shot, working on some moves in the paint would definitely do him some good. He should be seen throughout the summer league with the coaches to definitely get some time, and maybe he could be a replacement or be a debt piece, not replacement, your debt piece now with iHeart gone, be a debt piece behind Mitch Robinson, if you ever develop and get to that NBA level. But I see with him that's just there's mostly that type, and it's not the worst of grades. And by the way, I missed a Kevin McCullar grade as well too. I give Kevin McCullar probably around a B, just given what was available, and Hukporti, given where it is a B, a solid B all across this draft. I think the Knicks did okay. Like I said, I would rather have Keyshawn George, but guys like Darren Holmes, who I spoke about, came off the board. But yeah, Keyshawn, my son, my done life, got drafted straight up sniper styles, got drafted. But I do think Pacome Dadiet should definitely be a nice development piece at 18 years old versus Keyshawn at 20. Even though you could hide Keyshawn for another year, 20 is still relatively young, and Keyshawn probably could contribute a lot quicker than Pacome. But again, Pacome, Tyler Kolek, definitely is going to be your TJ McConnell type. Might get some minutes, could get some minutes this season. I'm just saying, could get some minutes this season. We still need a bench creator. McCullar is here. We still need a bench creator. We haven't really had one since your man Derrick Rose left the team. Kevin McCullar Jr. should be an interesting wing that, if you could refine some parts of his game, could be a rotational piece, a good depth piece, and like Ariel Hukporti, a depth piece behind Mitch Robinson. But guys, let me know your thoughts on this draft, how the Knicks make out. Who are the players that you guys wanted that the Knicks just did not draft, that you think is going to be some solid assets or pieces in the future for some other teams? Let me know your comments down below. Hit the like, subscribe to the channel. Make sure to hit the dark notification bell to get each and every notification for each and every video. Also, make sure to visit underdogfantasy.com. Use the code Legion LK to get matched up to $100 on your first deposit. The website, it's your boy Gmo, Legion of Knicks. I appreciate you. Peace, Lou. God bless. We out.